Uh, Robin, just wanted to check everyone online can hear me as well. Great. All right, thank you. And so yeah, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the STEM Connector event today. I'm Sharifa, Senior Program Officer with the Asia Foundation, and I'm also the Program Lead for Future Skills Alliance. So I think Robin has covered a little bit of about the Asia Foundation. So we are an international development organization. Our HQ is in San Francisco, and we operate in across 19, I think 21, 21 now offices across Asia. And as you can see below, here are some of the sort of pillars that we work on. Yes. So during the pandemic, as you can see, there's a lot of digital transformation that happened, and there's definitely a gap in terms of trying to upskill the marginalized community and ensuring that we sort of address the digital gap. So we've sort of came up with an initiative that is Future Skills Alliance. Next slide, please. Thank you. Future Skills Alliance is a collective impact model where all partners contribute their unique assets and expertise to drive impact at a regional scale. So we have different variety of programs to help support the future of the workforce. We provide supports to entrepreneurs, those who are seeking jobs, and also all the way to provide support to children as well. So I'll touch about the programs in depth in our next slides. So yes, all right, thank you. So as you can see, we have, as I mentioned, a variety of programs under the Future Skills Alliance umbrella. We have Let's Read. It's a digital literacy platform. In the past, we had Books for Asia program where we distributed books to public schools, libraries, and schools and university institutions. So during the pandemic, we've sort of created Let's Read. It's a digital platform. We provide elementary levels books for children. And the books are translated into a lot of languages, and we do also have books that are translated into Bahasa as well. We also have Go Digital ASEAN, which we're looking forward to kick off next year. We provide entrepreneurship training to all the ASEAN countries in the region. Under Go Digital ASEAN, we have also Explore and also Grow. So if you know entrepreneurs who are friends and family who are interested to join, do follow us on our Future Skills Alliance page. We also have a Celebrate My Business. We provide entrepreneurship support to women-led businesses in Malaysia and Indonesia. As of September, we managed to reach more than 6,000 women entrepreneurs. At the moment, we still have one program that's still ongoing. It's Accelerate with DHL, where we are promoting cross-border trade. So if you have any friends or family who are interested to embark in cross-border trade, we have support from DHL experts to help you navigate that. And then we have Skills to Work. It's a return to workforce skilling program. We have rolled the pilot in the Philippines. It's a customer experience learning pathway, and we provide Zendesk certification. And we hope to roll out the Malaysia training in February. So look out for the recruitment drive in early January. And then we have STEM ConnectHER. That is something that Christina is managing, and she'll share more about the program. Over to you.
Thank you. Thanks, Sharifa. And now I'm happy to share more about the STEM ConnectHER program. But before that, let me just quickly introduce myself. I'm Christina. I'm a program manager at the Asia Foundation, and my primary portfolio at the Asia Foundation is the STEM ConnectHER program. So great, if you can go to the next slide. So the Asia Foundation, in partnership with Zendesk, produced this report to study accelerating women's advancement in STEM, where we had approached 70 women in STEM organizations to examine the quote-unquote leaky pipeline, which is the systemic formal and informal pressures that push women out of the STEM industry at various points of their education and careers. And as we all know, the pandemic threatens to widen already serious gaps in women's participation in the labor force and the STEM field specifically. So a focused approach in addressing the underrepresentation of women in STEM and in leadership roles is essential to the post-COVID-19 recovery. So if you can go to the next slide, this report also outlines some recommendations for networks, private sector companies, and the government in strengthening their work to support women's STEM leadership, as you can see here. And this includes a commitment to network of networks for women in STEM. And thus, based on the recommendation of this report, STEM ConnectHER is born. So the STEM ConnectHER is a pan-regional network of networks which aims to connect and support early in career women in STEM by providing access to mentorship and professional development opportunities. So as Robin mentioned, in this pilot stage of the program, we are welcoming participants and member organizations from 5 participating countries in Asia Pacific, namely Cambodia, Japan, Malaysia, Singapore, and the Philippines. And we hope to expand the list of countries in the near future. So today's event is also part of our speaker series where we feature industry experts from our list of supporting partners. And they include, of course, AWS, AT&T, Visa, VMware, Cisco, Zendesk, as well as Common Purpose. And they will share and speak on anything from navigating challenges and overcoming barriers, tech talk where they share emerging trends and technologies, as well as their career journeys and personal insights. So again, as members of STEM ConnectHER, we would also welcome topic suggestions from our community. And so with that, I have the great pleasure of introducing our speaker for today, Ms. Zahra Zahid. She is the ASEAN Startup Leader Solutions Architecture at AWS. And in her current role, she is responsible for driving value creation for ASEAN and emerging markets startup customers through AWS, shaping technical solutions, growing or developing the technical community, and partnering with technical startup founders, CXOs, and entrepreneurs looking to build their business on AWS. Zahra is an aspiring social entrepreneur and actively leads and participates in events to advocate for ID&E in STEM. She loves to help others and strives to be a lifelong learner. Let's give Zahra a round of applause.
Thank you everyone for having me. If I feel a little dazed, it's because I've had a long day already. But I am super excited. This is the highlight of my day. So thank you for making time. I have a couple of things I want to share, but honestly, I want the conversation to be very, very candid. And just to share with you my journey with the challenges and with the continued focus on what we can do to understand the situation we're in better to help women accelerate within STEM. All right, so let's start by a little bit. I'll share a little bit about my career journey. So what's interesting now more than ever is we're under this tremendous pressure by social media to portray an image that only shares our successes, whether it's LinkedIn or Instagram. I'll probably take 20 pictures, upload the best one, right? On LinkedIn, I'll always talk about my success, never about the hundreds of failures that I'm going through. So what does that do? That creates a perception with everyone else who's following your journey that there's something wrong with them because they're going through so much hardships, so much failures, while they keep seeing this portrayal of a very smooth career, a very smooth progression throughout the career as well. And so, look, one of the things I will say is as much as possible, please don't follow what you see a lot on social media. It's used for something completely different. I think it's a marketing tactic for a personal brand. Do not take that as a comparison of someone else's journey and your journey as well. So I'll just caveat that with everyone. I have really reduced my own LinkedIn updates as well, very, very consciously, so that I am more conscious about what I portray about myself as well. Okay, so my career journey, I've been almost 20 years in the field, worked globally. I was born and raised in Pakistan and completed my undergrad in Bachelor's of Information Technology in Pakistan before I moved for work abroad. So look, in Pakistan, what was interesting is I grew up in a middle class family. Nothing special about that. I was lucky enough to have parents who understood that their daughters needed to have the same kind of independence when it came to education and equal rights so that they are independent enough. So I definitely grant them that, that there was a great influence from my parents to make sure I had equal rights, I had equal opportunity to education as well. But what's interesting is how I landed in the field of IT is during my choices for choosing secondary education, I could not join pre-med. That's every parent's dream, especially when I was growing up. This is like a long time ago. Pre-med, right? Like what else could you do? I mean, the worst, you could be a teacher. How bad is that? So I didn't have the grades to go into pre-med. This was not a conscious choice. This was a very systematic thing that pushed me into joining a new program. That program was focused on statistics and computer linguistics. And so I joined from there and continued my journey into pursuing Bachelor's of Information Technology from a class of 100 students. Even at that time, it was only 5 girls who made it in the Bachelor's of Information Technology. And when you see this, now see how many opportunities those 5 women would have to actually land a positive internship at the end of their career. Because the internships almost at that time got to decide whether you would land a job or not. A lot of times, even now, that's pretty much the case. Now, as I was going through this, I did land a good internship and I got a job offer, but I had tremendous pressure again from my family to continue in academia, which means pursue PhD, not a job. And it took a lot of emotional blackmailing, a lot of not eating at night, and a lot of crying to convince my parents that they should allow me to pursue a job. Now, what was interesting is, I won, I started the job, but I already felt I was at a disadvantage. That disadvantage was that I had specific rules. I could not stay late enough, even if I was working. I had to be home a certain time. And it wasn't as much as it was about my parents, it was also about the social and cultural pressure that you live in growing up in Pakistan or growing up in an Asian family as well. So I knew from the very start that there would be definitely disadvantages that my male colleagues would never face that I would continue to face as well. So I continued to push on. I decided I'm going to immigrate and focus on my work, which was a very big decision. And again, I will say, on paper, it looks like it was a perfect decision, everything aligned, but absolutely not. I did not have my family's approval to move for the sake of my career, which required a tremendous sacrifice. And that sacrifice was me choosing where I need to grow my own personal skills, how I want to continue to live. And those I think are decisions and avenues within our journey that no one speaks about in social media. You will never see those, but I guarantee you a lot of women have made those choices. A lot of women. There's just not enough of us to share how many of us have made those choices, right? So once I moved to Canada, things, of course, from a career perspective changed. But again, you know, you're starting from scratch in a new country. It had its own challenges. One of the things throughout my career that I really had to do is make sure I stayed up to speed on the technological changes that were going on, right? And those were really, really, really fast. Last 2 decades have changed so much from what we knew and we were taught in our university to what we were actually working on in the field. So the first realization you come to is, you know, one, this term gets tossed around a lot more, and now it's linked to every woman subconsciously, is the imposter syndrome. I mean, 5 years ago, no one knew about this term, but now because it's on social media, it's in every woman's subconscious that I have imposter syndrome, right? We didn't know it. We really didn't care about whether we had it or not. So one of the things you realize, every person you talk to, every woman in the field, they're always questioning themselves, saying, you know, do I have the right skills? You know, will someone find out that I'm faking it? You know, how do I do this? Can I continue to learn? Can I continue to grow? And what I realized now is every woman was going through the same journey. Every one of them was struggling with the same thing. We were just not sharing it enough to say, look, this is how I feel. I probably don't know X, Y, Z. And that's because we haven't been brought up in a way to say, I really don't know. Can I ask for help? Right? We usually, girls have been brought up in a way to be perfect. Right? Mostly say yes. There's no vocabulary, which becomes even harder when you go into your professional life, because we want to please everyone, right? And we want to be liked. The biggest myth I will tell you in a work is you will not be liked by everyone. So don't work on that. I think the biggest thing I've learned, and I continue to work on that on myself, is it is not about how people like me or not, if they consider me to be a nice person or not. It is for me to understand if I am being authentic to how I feel about things. That is very important. That whole social notion of women need to be liked. We need to be the nicest person in the room, the most agreeable person in the room, right? Those things everyone goes through, and you have to set up a mindset to at least acknowledge those thoughts and then park them, because you're never going to get everyone to like you. That's not what work is, right? I mean, barely in our family we can get everyone to like us, so forget work. So I want to talk about a couple of things today that are a little bit more controversial. Right? No one's recording this, right? Okay. So look, I want to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good thing that has happened is training has been democratized as much as technology has been democratized. So the image we have of what a STEM person looks like is no longer a coder sitting in the back coding on a laptop, right? Those days are gone. When we think about STEM, think about a plethora of roles in marketing, in sales, in channels, in management, in HR. It doesn't matter, right? So you don't only have to be a coder to join a field of STEM, first of all, right? So one, please understand that. Two, I always, try to tell folks, if you can use TikTok, I cannot use TikTok. To me, you're way more technical than I am already. So look, the technology has already been democratized. You can learn new apps in a minute. There's nothing different in what we do. There is a core fundamental understanding, but that training has been democratized. 20 years ago, if we wanted to get training in the field of computer sciences, we needed to join a degree course, or we needed our employer to be kind enough to give us that education. But now we have courses available for free, certifications, diplomas. Go ahead, do them online, create your mentoring circle. Honestly, there is nothing different. So when you think about something like databases or analytics, I'm telling you that's something so natural in women that we do in our sleep, right? I'll equate that with budgeting at the house, grocery shopping, looking at houses. If we want to buy a house, we're looking at where are the best places. Let me look at the real estate agent. Let me create a list. We're already doing all the analytics you can think of. The only thing that is changing now is you're bringing that concept and taking it at a scale, leveraging technology that is scalable for business use. So do not get scared by the idea that you do not have core fundamentals. These core fundamentals are very natural to our existence, right? So those kind of things, trust me, there is no rocket science behind that. So pick that up. I will tell you, I think analytics is something naturally that comes to women. We're really good at that kind of detail-oriented work, right? So pick that up, see what you like about it. So many tools are out there. Reach out to me. I'll guide you how you want to go do this, right? If you don't find projects, there are so many non-for-profit projects that you can work on helping organizations create that and put that on your resume. The pivot now to STEM has become easier. I'm not saying there is not still challenges. It is way easier to pivot now than it was 10 years ago, right? We also have specific programs, of course, just like companies like AWS, where we want to make sure we are nurturing a culture where we're not just targeting new talent and early talent. We want to target the talent who have been in the field and want to pivot into technology. And there is so much skill set you have already achieved, which will allow you to pivot. So if you have something in mind, please reach out to me, and I'm willing to have a one-on-one conversation with you to look at what are your skill sets, how do you want to move them, how can you leverage them to actually move into the field of technology as well. All right, so that's the good part about the field. Remember the good part. Now the bad part is there's still a lot of bias. Still a lot of bias on what kind of roles women can do well. And I will again go back to what propagates that is everything from media to TV to cartoons, everything. Women from a character perspective would be the best in soap operas, right? But men, scientists, superheroes. So the persona, look, this is not just a fight within organizations, but this image has been embedded in our mind for such a long time that it is going to take a long time for everyone to change the bias. But what can we do, right? While we fight that bias, each one of us can remove our own bias about ourselves, right? When we question our own skills, when we question our own capabilities, please catch that thought. And I'm not saying don't have that thought, have it, but please be conscious enough to see the thought and be kind to yourself and make sure that thought is constructive enough, taking you into a more growth mindset rather than pulling you back, right? So from a bias perspective, it still exists, but the biggest thing we can do is solve our own bias first. And it exists within us, right? All right. Now, the good news to the bias is I will tell you Every company has created programs now to help us within companies fight the bias as well, right? Um, they're challenging everyone to change our notion that bias is not just about women. That bias is any kind of new persona that we have not seen. Anyone with tattoos, anyone with a lot of piercing, we can't take them seriously in a workforce. Why not? What has created that bias in our head? Right? So the one thing we can do to fix the society fast is fix our own bias as well. Right? All right. Let's talk about something ugly. Um, Look, a lot of the talks I have attended, a lot of the talks we've been in, we talk a lot about men and bias and men and bias, right? But let me tell you, throughout my career, my best coaches and mentors have been men. They have been the biggest allies. What I haven't had is good women coaches and good women mentors. So what I want to share with you is some controversial research on why there are 4 reasons women do not support other women. And if you haven't felt that yet, look more closely. The first rule is something called a dead even. And a dead even is a rule that governs the relationships of power and self-esteem. So when the power and the self-esteem between women get disrupted, what does that mean? That means that one woman is rising in the status above the other women. What happens? Women may talk behind her back. We may ostracize that woman who has more success from our group. And of course, this is a subconscious process. Of course this is, but we see it happening day in, day out. So it's easier for us to call out the men, but I will guarantee you that this is happening way more in women as well. So if you get a chance, please Google dead even. Right. So one request from all the women in the room, please identify when you do that with someone. And we all do that subconsciously, okay? It doesn't have to be at work. It could be my cousin that's doing way better than me. So remember, it's something subconscious, unconscious to us, but we are doing this to other women. Now, the second reason is the reason that irritates me the most about women in technology. The most, and I have been very vocal about this. It relates to emotional intelligence. There's a book called The Power of Perception. Read that. It will show you some techniques on what I'm talking about. But really what the second reason is, women who become more successful try to emulate the male qualities. What are the male qualities usually that are getting rewarded? The male qualities usually are trying to be less relationship and empathy driven and more assertive and confident. So why is this happening? This is happening because women feel they have to act a certain way, exactly like men, in order to go up, so that they know they're not perceived any differently. So if you find a lack of empathy in one of your woman bosses, you know what that is? That is called a queen bee syndrome. And it is very predominant. It's very predominant because we as women can truly believe that we have to be ruthless when we go up. We have to act like men. I don't know if I do this. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying there's a part of us that we leave behind, and that part is relationships and empathy, our nurturing nature. That is a very deliberate and systematic thing that is happening to you. And unfortunately, a lot of us are not seeing that amongst ourselves, right? And this is why we've seen very less support from women executives sponsoring more women coming up the chain. That was number 2. And it's my pet peeve. So, I apologize in advance if you see me ever get super irritated when some woman tells you to be assertive and says when you go up. If that is truly you, if that is your authentic self, by all means. But if that is not only are you not being yourself, but you have now sabotaged our entire ecosystem. This is why it's going to take us 200 years to reach equality for women in jobs, not just in STEM. All right, the third one is the competition of spots. Right? The third one is because there's so less spots. Because there's so less spots, women tend to want to take that spot for themselves. Right? So let's not discount the characteristics that we all show as well, that we can work on to actually help our other women counterparts as well. Fourth one is a very interesting one. And I think all of us who have been brought up in Asia can relate to this, because this is not just work related. It is that feeling of, I figured it out, so could you. I suffered through this, so could you. Ever relate to that in our families? Right? Big whoop, you're having a hard time. I had worse. Same applies. And if women do that at home, guess what we do at work? We do the same thing. And you're like, I worked really hard. Right? I spent 20 years. Why should I help someone else get there faster? That I truly believe they can get there in 5 years though. Because I really think I figured it out in 20 years what could be done in 5. So should I accelerate it? Or by nature, will I be like, well, I figured it out. I had it really rough. Boo. Those are the 4 things women continue to do globally that is hurting our ecosystem of actually promoting more women. So a lot of times, yes, we can lean on men, we can lean on the society, we can talk all about the biases that exist out there, but it starts with us. It starts by calling out other women who are not supporting other women. Right? And I guarantee you, if women wholeheartedly started supporting every other woman, we could change a lot more than continuing to ask the society to change their laws against us. Right? So again, like I said, a little bit controversial, but doesn't mean it's not the truth. So one of the things, I think the last thing is, the workplace culture is very masculine, right? No doubt about that, right? So a certain part of us, to fit in, will always try to take up some of those characteristics, right? Which is what? Emotions. Emotions for women are something very different. I'm not saying men don't feel the same emotion. Let's just say they're better at not displaying them. I've cried multiple times in big meetings in front of multiple directors, multiple bosses, multiple customers who were being, ridiculous with me. And of course, there were certain times where people were like, women, that's why we don't have women in stressful situations like this, because they can't control their emotions. But who said we cannot have emotions at work? Didn't we just say we have to bring our authentic self at work? Right? So the more we normalize these things, the more we try to be ourselves at work, guess what's going to happen? The generation after, the generation before, we're going to be able to propagate that change. So when you feel like crying, please cry. Right? It will normalize it. But the time you hold back your tears and there's another intern, guess what we're doing now? We're setting up the same precedence with the other generation, saying, well, this is not acceptable. You can't do this. Right? So starts with us. Let's be brave to show more vulnerability. Let's be brave enough to show what we are truly feeling. Right? I mean, sometimes it's just not controllable. I feel within a month, there's at least a week I am at a disadvantage because I can't control my emotions. I get irritated easily. I get angry at the slightest thing. This is very normal, but not talked about. Never is it talked about. It's joked about, right? But it's never talked about, not something we can control. I have tried, and I guarantee you other women have tried. And it is not something we can control. It is something biological in us that triggers it. So why not keep it natural? Why not let it be the norm? Why not be okay with it? Why not say, look, I'm having a bad week. Something is irritating me. Let's cut the meeting. Let me go for a walk. Why not normalize something like that? Right? So look, the purpose of me bringing some of these points up is to put the responsibility back on us. The responsibility lies with us to be our authentic selves, to be bold enough to bring out our authentic selves so that we can bring about the change. We can no longer blame the system. We can no longer blame our allies. We can no longer blame men. If we can't be our authentic selves, we're not going to normalize what we want to see in our workplace. And that's a tough thing to do. I'm not saying that's an easy thing. Nothing has been easy. Getting women election rights 50 years ago, nothing was easy, but it started with a movement. And this is also a movement. So the movement should not be to change women into being more masculine or being more assertive. The movement from within should be being our authentic selves that we're comfortable with. We feel like crying, cry it out. So what? What, they're going to put it in your performance review? I don't think so. Right? So, I mean, look, it starts with us. We all have to take a little bit more responsibility. It is systematic, I agree, but we also have to challenge that bias within us. What do we want to do? What do we want to see? And can we be that change that we want the society to move towards? Right? And when we see women not supporting other women, call it out. Call it out. Right? I mean, there's so many of us now. If we all work together, it would change so many things. Right? So my, I guess, ending note on this would be, I still struggle with this. Please don't think I have it all figured out. Not for a minute. Right? But what I have figured out, what took me 20 years to figure out, is the most comfortable I can get is being my authentic self. Right? Knowing what my values are, and if I can bring those values out at work and support other women, that's what's going to move the needle. That is truly what's going to move the needle. And look, I'm not saying I don't have bias. I totally have bias as well. I have so many biases, but I have learned to grab that thought, identify it as a bias, and move on from it. So it's not stopping your thoughts, it's being able to recognize your thoughts. It's being able to categorize them, right? and grow from there. So what I'll end with is thank you for listening to me. I look forward to networking with all of you. I will just say this again, the change begins with us and the change stops with us. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Zahra. So maybe we can start with the people in the room. If you have any questions, feel free.
Yes.
I think I don't have that question. I think you're amazing for setting out there. Thank you for doing this. I think I have to circle back to the idea about us women being the change as well, especially starting from home. So I was asked this question about allyship, right? Like we always blame the men for not helping us out or not being more supportive. Yes, there is a big section of them that don't, but sometimes from home, especially in an Asian culture, we forget that it starts there. The fact that women within the circle allows for the men to, you don't have to do certain things because you're a man. You don't have to wash your plate. You don't have to put your dishes. You don't have to do this. And the women then go on to tell the younger generation of women that they don't have to do that. It perpetuates that cycle towards as they go on. So like I always try to ask people to just don't blame the other gender, but also to look within ourselves. What are we doing and championing those things for ourselves from home even, right? So that's something that about allyship that I'm doing.
I couldn't agree more. I think a lot of our programs are so focused on women at work when they should be focused at women at home.
Yeah.
Right? Because it starts from very early on and we're not tapping into that market. I don't have kids, very deliberate reason, but I can tell you like it starts from even different things from, I remember at one Halloween, we were at a house that had a lot of decorations and there was a 2-year-old boy coming in and he was dressed as a cop and his parents were celebrating because he was not scared of any of the stuff there. And then along came a 2-year-old girl dressed as a princess. And before the girl could actually be curious about any decorations of Halloween, the dad just picked her up and was like, oh, she's scared. It starts from so early on. But I do think you have a point. Like we need to be talking to the women at home. We need to be telling them what these small and minor things, how they become big in the field. Right? But as I said, it's so unfortunate. Women have this mentality of, I went through it, you can clean the dishes as well. Right? And so what does it take for us? Like, what does it take? Does it take for us having a heart-to-heart conversation with our mothers, our sisters, our sister-in-law, our cousins? It does. It really, really does, calling them out on that. Right? And I don't mean in a mean way. I mean, it could be a mean way. I don't care either way because it's taken us too long to make that change. But the repercussions of something like that they do not understand are huge. So I do think there's an opportunity for a program to reach out to women at home, the homemakers, because it starts with them. I agree. Yes. Yes. Okay, room. Yes.
Okay. Hi, hello, everybody. I'm Noreen. I'd just like to share a bit and move forward a bit from what Zahra said, something about being your authentic self. So as a background, I have a startup. I have a retail AI startup. And for some reason, it has been sort of a biannual thing or a yearly, 2-yearly thing to fire people en masse. And as a founder, it's up to me. The first round was, for some reason, the team is divided into two, men and women. At that time, the men were all in the tech software engineers and the women were in business. So the first cycle was all the women had to go. This was sometime before the pandemic, and that crushed me because I had to let everybody go. And so the second time, which was just slightly few months ago, all the men had to go. And from what I learned before, I decided to be, okay, let's do it differently. Let's just be you. So when I did the maths, letting go of people, I said, okay, the company's policy is this. I'm sorry. But as a person, as me, come to me, you can reach out. I like to help you or something, to buffer the process as a person. But the outcome of that was, because I was so open and myself, it turned back because it was vulnerability in some sense. It wasn't like, the whole, just Enron, maybe just fire, everything shut down, no questions asked. It was come to me and talk. That opened up, lawsuits, talks of many things, which is by being myself. It was very, very, very difficult. But of course, we find ways. We always find ways to go about it. But at the end of the day, as horrible as it was, I'm glad I did it my way. I'm glad I reached out and say, hey, I can help you, even though it bit me in the ass. And I suppose it's not an easy process, just adding on to you being yourself. But on a long term, I suppose, it did not cut me as a person. And it's okay. We grow, we build, we thrive. And just to say, it's not easy, but it does make you feel a whole better about yourself. So yeah, just wanted to share about being authentic.
That's very impactful. Thank you. Anyone else? Questions on the room? I noticed there was one question. Oh, there's a lot of questions? Okay. Okay. Did you ever have someone tell you you could not do this work? How did you do? Yes. I mean, I question myself daily. I mean, now it has a name. It's called imposter syndrome, but it's really a daily thing with me. I meet a lot of people and a lot of customers. Of course, they always tell me I cannot do what they are thinking that I do. I have a very recent example where I met a customer, a CEO of a startup, and I introduced myself as leading the technical teams at AWS. And his comment to me was, "You don't look technical." Right, so I didn't know what that meant. I mean, I really ignored it because I really didn't have a comeback for that and really didn't want to waste my energy. But yes, every day, every day, someone would tell you, you cannot do this work. I think every day, the world is set up in a way where it's really not spreading positivity. A lot of negative news, a lot of negative comments, that's what sells, right? And so every day, absolutely every day, I wake up thinking, I need to better myself. The change that has happened now, where I feel more mature about accepting, is the values I have. What do I want to better myself in? Do I want to better myself in arguing with this CEO and trying to change his perspective? Absolutely not. I would not waste a sentence with that person. But what I do value is, how can I bring about change? How can I make more impact in the world? That is what I work on for a betterment. So every day, absolutely, every day I feel like there's so many things I'm leaving behind. You should see my to-do list. I have on my phone a to-do list, on my laptop a to-do list, and somewhere else also on the fridge a to-do list. And most of the time I barely get through one item in the week. And then imagine the mental stress that comes with when you look at your to-do list that you so over ambitiously created for yourself. No one else did. I created it for myself, fully knowing I would only get through one. But I punish myself and mentally torture myself at the end of the week when I only have accomplished one. That's what I want to get better at, being kind to myself. Do I know everything? Absolutely not. I mean, there's no way I can know everything, right? But what matters to me is being a better human. And that I think I can work on every day, right? So absolutely, I feel imposter syndrome. I just don't like that it's linked so much to women than it is to everyone else. All right. Any other questions? I think we need to scroll.
Yeah. For our online participants, please feel free to unmute. We can all hear you in the room. So if you have any insights, any comments, feel free to share and unmute yourself.
Mentorship among women as well. So I realized that, so I'm in education and we are about 80% women, especially in teaching. I think sometimes we're not taught that mentorship is possible. And a lot of times it feels like, especially in teaching, because the teacher has spent so long perfecting that skill, like you said, they don't want to transfer it down, or they feel like, I don't want to talk down to somebody. I should just let her or him be. So I think there needs to be more avenue. I don't know if women who are in leadership positions can spearhead more conversations, more open conversation. That would be great as well. But what helped for me is that I found my tribe of girls. Some of them are here, and they're from different industries, which is really refreshing because I get a lot of perspective from different angles, different viewpoints, and I take that as mentorship as well. So I don't know if that's possible in tech, but that's something I just want to add. So yeah.
I definitely think it's a good idea. Look, one of my early on bias when I joined the tech industry 20 years ago, I used to sit in a room and every time I would see someone older than me, I'd be like, what do they know? This tech was invented just 2 years ago. They've been working 20 years. What do they know? And now I'm on the other side of it, right? So it does change perspective. It puts you in a very different lens, and which is why I think it is very important for us to control our own bias, to understand where are we biased. Is it an age bias? Is it an experience bias? And it happens on both end of the spectrum. The younger, the folks who are entering the workforce, and oh my God, the poor people who are at the tail end of it and the middle end of are totally confused because they don't fit any spectrum. But all of them are not talking to each other. Everyone has a very deliberate and very intentional bias that they don't want to open up to. So absolutely, I think we can have more of those programs. We good?
Thank you so much, Zahra. Thank you so much, Zahra. I think your stories definitely touched a lot of us in the room, and we can definitely bring home some key takeaways from what you shared. Thank you so much for sharing so openly. All right, so what happens now? If you are already part of the STEM ConnectHER program, there are some things that you can look forward to. And firstly, of course, as we mentioned a lot, is mentoring. And it is now ongoing, and we have our platform partner, Tex, who can speak more about how to navigate the platform, as well as how to schedule your first mentorship call. So the Tex team is joining us virtually. If you're ready, Shane or Darren, please feel free to unmute yourself and take it away.
Okay, here we go. Thanks, Christina. I gather everyone can hear me okay. And yes, we're in Sydney, Shane's in Melbourne. And thanks to everyone for joining. I mean, I wish I could join you in person. It looks a fun event. And thanks to Zahra, that was a wonderful talk. So just as a brief introduction, we've got about 10 minutes. So the key is that we'll try and just take you through a really quick method of just finding someone on the platform that may suit for a session and then booking that session. But just as background, Shane's here with me. Shane and I co-founded TEX about 4 years ago. Our background's in corporate. We worked 25 or so years. We met in Cisco, actually, so we worked together at Cisco for 10 years. And we started TEX as what we saw as a need in the market, and that was organizations really couldn't share expertise, even if they wanted to, and they couldn't do that privately, they couldn't do that logistically or commercially. So we set up an infrastructure that allows organizations to really build their own private communities, such as what TAF is doing here, curate those organizations, focus on a purpose and an outcome, and then encourage people to connect. And we do some smarts on the platform to do that. And our focus really is on that personal connection. I think there's a lot of learning out there with content, but having been mentored myself, in fact, I still get mentored, both formally and informally every couple of weeks, that we wanted to focus on that personal element. So let me share the screen and we'll get straight into it. Let's see if I can do that. Yep. Okay, hopefully that's coming through okay. Shane, can you give me a thumbs up if that's all right?
Oh, good. You're looking good.
All right, great. So here's the STEM ConnectHER homepage. I mean, it's a really remarkable set of organizations that everyone on the platform has an opportunity to connect to. I'll show you how to do that. I won't go a lot into my background. If you want to look at my background, you can find me in the STEM ConnectHER program. Here's an example of a profile where I've recorded a video, and we would, I'd say, encourage all the mentors to record videos. We've seen that if you record a personal video, then you're much more likely to have people reach out to you because people like to hear your voice. And it was great to hear everyone who I know as faces on the platform talk today. So we'd encourage you to do that. Load up some information and then go through this skills baselining if you're specifically if you're a mentor, but also if you're a mentee. To become a mentor, you really just have to go through the process of sharing some skills on the platform and you become a mentor. Or as you probably noticed when you onboarded, there was an option to flag whether you wanted to be a mentor or mentee. Now, if you're trying to find a mentor, you will probably want to browse this profile. Have a look at their background and skills. You can click here for showing more, and then go into the How I Can Help tab, and you'll see the skills that I feel that I'm comfortable sharing. So you can get a good feel for who I am. Now, how would you have found me on the platform? So I'll go to the desktop. This is your default screen when you come in. And there's a few different ways that you can find people. So if you're a mentee on the platform, we'll typically drop you into the connections page. And I'm involved in a few different programs. So you'll see some people aren't in the TAF program, but you'll see here, we've recommended people that you may want to connect with. So simply clicking one of these things, going into their profile, exploring it, and then I'll show you how to book a session. The other thing you can do is use the search bar. So for example, if you saw somebody on the platform today that you wanted to connect with, now I can't search myself, obviously, but I'll see if Shane's there. I can just put in, you know, Shane's first name, and it'll bring up. The other thing you can do is, I know Shane's into sales, so I can search for salespeople and it'll show, here's all the experts that have sales as one of their criteria. or related criteria that that they want to share on the platform. So we encourage you to go in and browse the network. Now, if you want to see all of the mentors, let me go back to the dashboard. What we've tried to do is set up a shortcut bar where you can see all the mentors at once rather than go through a number of different searches. Now, let me try and go back there. So if I go back to my connections, you'll see here, find experts in your program. Now, if you click here, this will filter on people who have flagged themselves as mentors, and you can simply either refine that search or go through the different pages and see who looks interesting. You'll see here that we've tried to make the grab cards give you as much information as they can straight up. So you'll see the person, the organization they work for. And what we've tried to do is come up with an algorithm that shows how well you're matched, either from a skill or compatibility. So when you see these little shortcuts, the higher the score, the better you were probably matched. So we've tried to filter that for you as well. Now, let me go back to Dash. Well, let me take one of these. Now, just say I found Kunal and I'm interested in booking him. So there's a couple of ways I can do that. I can click straight into his profile. And just like I showed you my profile, his will come up with a little bit of information about who he is. Hopefully he's recorded a video, which he has, thanks Kunal. And I can have a look at the how I can help tab and see what sort of skills that he is sharing. The other thing, just while I see it here, now this skill is also in my profile, so we hire, but as you're highlighted, but as you're kind of browsing through people, you may think, okay, that's an interesting skill, UI design. I can just simply, by clicking that plus button, add that to my profile as well. And that's also an easy way to kind of browse people and figure out what skills to add. Now, if I want to book Kunal, now everyone should have linked their calendars. So I can simply click on book a session. I will tell Kunal intro meeting about product management. Now I can invite more people if I want, just don't want to do it by myself. Now these green areas are the times that he's available and I'm available. So again, simply clicking one of those, giving him a little bit of information about the session. I can, blah, blah, he knows me pretty well. I can also get an SMS reminder here and I simply book the session. Now he'll get notified on the platform, off the platform, and you'll see here that that session now comes into your dashboard. And then before the session, you can either join from your calendar or on the dashboard, and voila, you're within a video, you do the session, and then you can take some notes and do a survey, etc. So that is the express version of for a mentee and particularly finding someone. I will call out if you're a mentor, we encourage you not just to wait for a phone call, but go through all of the different requests that people have posted on the platform and have a look. Again, we've done some matching here as to what's really relevant, but go through here and see if there's anything you can help with. And again, you can just reach out. As an example, I'll just click the chat and I can start talking here. Let me move the scroll bar and bridge the connects. And we pre-populate, and then you can start the conversation. Hi, testing. And see if it's a good match. And then you could start a meeting or book a session. So let me leave it there. We've tried to make it as easy as possible. If you have any feedback on the platform, we meet with Christina and the TAF team all the time, trying to continue to build features, but we'd love to hear from you as well. So again, thanks for your support. Thanks for being a part of TAF and TEX. And let me know if you have any questions now, or we can take it offline.
Thanks so much, Darren. So yes, as you saw, this is the platform, the primary platform where the program will take place. And we are obviously, encourage you to join the STEM Connector program if you are a woman in STEM. But even if you're not, we do have a lot of mentors who are there that are part of our supporting partner organizations that I listed earlier. And today we actually have someone who's joining us from our member organization called STEAM Inc. from Japan, Ms. Sachiko Nakajima. And she will be speaking with you in just a bit. Let us get the Zoom sorted, but let me give you a quick introduction of Ms. Sachiko. Yes. Hi, Ms. Sachiko. So I'm pleased to introduce you to Ms. Sachiko. She is the CEO of STEAM Inc. And she is a STEAM educator, a mathematician, as well as a jazz pianist. And she is also part of the 2025 Japan Expo thematic lead. So Ms. Sachiko, please feel free to unmute.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for your introduction. I really enjoyed the talk today, and I'm always very excited with this kind of speaker series here. So let me first introduce myself a little bit. As you already introduced me, I'm a jazz pianist, mathematician, and STEAM educator. Basically, working in Japan, here in Japan and Tokyo. And also I studied media art, like art and technology in New York at New York University ITP graduate school from 2018 to 2020. So I just graduated. And so now I have many kind of professional or expertise like music, mathematics, STEAM education, media art. And also I'm a CEO of STEAM Inc., so I'm also a kind of an entrepreneur. So I have kind of a lot of faces here in Japan, and I really love to get connected with all of you here through STEM ConnectHER. Yes, I'm very excited. Maybe I can also share a little bit of it's just a short introduction of myself. I also won the gold medal at the International Mathematical Olympiad maybe 25 or 30 years ago. I'm not so sure, maybe 25 years ago. And also I'm working as a STEM Girls Ambassador at Japanese Cabinet Office. Also, I'm now vigorously working for the World Expo, which would be held in 2025 here in Osaka, Kansai, Japan. So World Expo, as you may know, is a place where many people from all over the world, about 150 countries would join, get together in Osaka in 2025. So I'm kind of really thrilled to have this opportunity to work together with people all over the world. So if you have any ideas, please let us know. And I really like to work with you as well. So as for the World Expo, I would like to get this chance to talk a little bit more about World Expo. So in 2025, we will have a big festival, big expo. And I will have one pavilion, which is called the Life Playground Jellyfish Pavilion. So with the great architect, Tetsuo Kobori, we are now working together to make a pavilion where I think people can feel the joy of diversified creativity, like people from all over the world, or from children to senior people, or even like people who cannot see, or who cannot hear, or who cannot walk, or who cannot stand up. Yeah, those many types of people could get together here to show their creativity. So this is our kind of challenge, and I would like to have your support for some, in various ways. So, and as you know, here in Japan, sadly, our ranking in OECD countries of the female STEM field researchers is lowest actually. So we Japanese people have a kind of issue about gender problem as well. So through this kind of STEAM educational revolution, or through these kind of activities toward World Expo, I would like to change the society and culture, not only in Japan, but also in the world so that like people, any kind of people, diversified people, beyond genders or beyond any type of gaps, like economic gaps or regional gaps, information gaps, any types of gaps could be overwhelmed, I think. So I really like to have a kind of create the network, global network, so that people or places can be connected. So our philosophy is very, very, very similar to TEX, this platform, so STEM connector. So I would like to talk with you more in person, possibly, or in remote, even in remotely. I would like to talk with you, by one, and get to know you more, and so that we could kind of climb up more higher mountains and see greater future, so that we could be ourselves, like you said in this talk. Yes. So so through the STEM connector, I would like to talk with you. So I'm also a mentor here, and I'm not sure right now. I'm kind of very, very busy, but not only me, but also many other great STEM female researchers or workers here in Japan are now trying to register here. We are also working hard to get more and more mentors and mentees here in Japan as well, but I really like to get this chance to get connected with you. Yes. So please find me and other Japanese mentors and mentees in the platform, and let's talk a little bit more, so that we could somehow explore something for the future, or maybe for the 2025. I would like to start some more activities, global activities, so that we could encourage, for example, female STEM researchers or workers, or even more diversified type of people all over the world. So please, give me any kind of words or context. I would put our streaming email address here in the chat later, so that you could contact us. Yes, and also please contact us through the STEM connector as well. Thank you so much. And I would like to talk with you more here in the Zoom as well today. Thank you.
Thank you, Sachiko-san, for sharing more about yourself and what experiences you can share. So these are just the mentors that you can look forward to connecting as part of the STEM Connector program. You are also welcome to explore the profiles on the text platform. And as we mentioned earlier, everyone here has the same objective as you, which is to share experiences and network. So don't be shy to approach someone and submit a request to learn. So as part of the STEM ConnectHER program activities, as mentioned, today we have the speaker series. We also have the cross-region mentoring, as well as the resources for leadership and capacity development. So if we can go to the next slide. Yes, so as a next step from this event today, please feel free to create and explore profiles on the STEM ConnectHER mentoring platform, connect with other like-minded individuals who share the same vision as you, which is to advance women leadership in STEM. And then please stay tuned for upcoming STEM ConnectHER Speaker Series and events. As mentioned, this is our first in-person event, and we're going to be looking forward to planning more of these events, not just in Malaysia, but also in other participating countries such as Philippines and Cambodia. So please stay tuned for that. And then these are just also some of the learning resources that we have available for participants of the STEM ConnectHER program. We thank our partners for making these available, and we welcome you to explore and get started on these resources to further your professional development. And yeah, so how do you join? So this is just the brief criteria for the mentee and mentors. So for mentees, if you have below 5 years working experience, we encourage you to join and register as a learner on the platform. And then anyone who has above 5 years experience, you're welcome to register on the platform as an expert. But there's definitely room for you to interact with other mentors as well, even if you register as a mentor. Okay. So with that, let's bid adieu to our online participants. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you feel included in this hybrid format that we're trying out for the first time. Thank you so much, everyone. And yes, Ms. Sachiko has also shared her email in the chat, which we will also share with the people who are in the room today. So thank you to our Zoom participants. And for the rest of you in the room today, thank you for your patience. And I am now happy to hand the floor to our colleague Nadia, who will try to walk us through a bit of a networking session. But please feel free, this is an open session, it's very informal, grab some food, or if you'd like to go and perform your prayers, there's also the surau nearby, which we can point you to. But yeah, please feel free to start talking to each other and get networking.
So perhaps let's kind of get a feeling. Everybody feels comfortable enough with the people in the room to just have a very organic kind of networking where we just have a meal and just try to go out and speak to someone we haven't spoken to before. Christina and I have prepared some activity where we match each other up. But then I think that given the sharing that's in the room, and I think the spirit that we have today, I really feel like it really is about stories and sharing experiences. And I think each one of us would like to speak to someone. So if you see that someone